Welcome to the Pitch Pod. We are the pod amalgamation, and we are here to pitch you on all things nerdy, geeky, dorky, dweeby, and lame. I am your host, Grant, and here with me are my co-hosts, the underlings.
Are you the main host? Is that?
I would.
Is that
I don't. We haven't really.
Am I your sidekick or are you mine?
Whatever. Anywho, Andrew.
Yeah, that's Andrew.
That's not how this. Okay. The whole point of the intro was to make sure we're matching voices. So we're gonna do this. Andrew, speak a word.
Word.
Okay. Victor, say another word.
Okay.
I hate y'all so much. Mainly Victor. But welcome to our show, friends. Today we have so many fun, amazing, mystical, wonderful things to speak on. We'll be pitching you on Over the Garden Wall later on. But first, I just want to say, after our Halloween special, and Halloween being yesterday, Halloween sucks. I am jumping off the bandwagon. Yesterday was obviously there were influences as to why it was lame, but once more, another Halloween has passed, and I've gotten myself hyped up and excited and ready to go, and I do nothing again.
Yeah.
How's y'all's Halloween?
Why is that Halloween's fault?
Well, I blame Halloween for many. I mean, maybe you have a point. Maybe I am blaming a holiday for my lack of social interaction. And
all right, we broke Grant early.
Yeah, I guess I didn't really think that far as to why. This is why we do this, so we can have like a little therapy one-on-one sesh.
Yeah, it's awkward for the other person in the room.
If it's any consolation, even if you went out looking for a good time.
Also, just the phrase going out looking for a good time has whole different connotations.
But regardless of whatever your intent was, euphemistically or otherwise, it was totally, it's oddly sad. I remember one of my friends was like, oh my God, it's like the apocalypse. And I'm like, I feel like this is what would happen after the chosen religion ascends to the sky and this is what's left. It's just all the boring people.
I mean, technically, if you look at most religions where the people leave, I don't know that it's the boring people who are left behind.
Damn, Victor. What does that say about you?
In that case, it was a real bummer, dude. It was a real bummer. All the taco vendors were like, yeah, we've had no business. I'm like, Jesus.
Yeah. We maybe gave out candy to 4 kids all night. Put them in those little bags so people wouldn't have to have hand-to-hand contact.
I thought you were about to say combat.
It was just we beat the shit out of kids and then maybe give them a Snickers bar after. But yeah, we just kind of stayed in and didn't dress up, and oh well. Yeah, well, we have so much leftover candy, but, your boy's on a diet. I've been saying that for about a year now, and it hasn't really gone anywhere. But
since it's an audio podcast, hasn't needed to say it for any of the last year, so it's what it is. Grant, did you watch that Mandalorian?
I did. Episode 1 came out on the Friday? Yeah, the 30th. I thought it was an interesting episode. What about you, Andrew? Did you see it?
I did. I watched it.
Yeah.
It was fine. It was a lot of exposition.
Definitely a setup for this, because I guess spoiler alert, if we're going that far, spoiler alert for the episode, it definitely is an introduction into Boba Fett to the season.
I don't even know that Boba Fett is going to be in
Was that not
season.
Boba Fett the ending?
I feel like that it was. I just think that it's a thing where, they showed him, they did the fan service to let people know he's still alive, and I don't see it. I wouldn't be surprised if it was, but my money's on it's just a fan service thing for the people who know to be like, whoa!
Yeah, canon.
Because I definitely had to think about it for a second to be like, oh, which clone is... No, that's not a clone.
Yeah, I felt like there was just... Well, I don't know if you guys have the same sort of sentiment. I feel like we might have dug our own grave with the whole Baby Yoda thing, because it's to the point now where I was pissed off that there wasn't enough Baby Yoda, and I was like, why is Timothy Oliphant, or whatever his name is, on the screen so much?
Because he's amazing.
I mean, he was good. He was good and Justified, but I was like, I want Baby Yoda.
Best.
I want to see him blow shit up.
But Baby Yoda's a spice. You don't cover the whole thing.
I think he's more like salt than like. I think he's like a mild spice. Like he's like a spice. Like he's like more of like a seasoning than like a red chili flake.
He's like the salt.
He's like not something that you. I want more of it. He's a flavor enhancer.
This is where Grant Niver cooking is coming into play.
Yeah, I guess you're right there. I don't really do the cooking thing, but Victor, did you watch it?
No, I don't have Disney Plus, and it's honestly, it's not. I don't know, dude. I just don't have an appeal for Star Wars.
Victor hates fun things.
I don't hate fun things. It's not. It's it's like Freddie Mercury said. Jaws was never my scene, and I don't like Star Wars. Yeah, that's exactly what he said. I worked, and then I read the new Berserk chapter that just came out, and I don't want to spoil it for people who haven't read it for our viewers, but it's pretty sick. Didn't you read it, Grant?
I did read it as well. I'm feeling so involved this episode. I did all the things this week because I have no other life. Yes, I also read the new episode of Berserk. I am fully caught up thanks to the Pitch Pod. Or caught up to Berserk, the newest chapter, and Mira still got it. The art is...
For sure, dude. I never thought I'd be able to... I mean, that was sick. I didn't even consider the implications of that chapter. It was just like, I don't know, it was really good. It was insanely short. From what I understand, there's another one coming out this month. So hopefully we get a little bit more development there. Okay. But
yeah, the chapters and the volumes are definitely getting shorter and shorter, and hopefully that means that eventually they'll start wrapping the show. But yeah, no, I mean, the art is still there, the story is still there. And
I'm looking for some combat though. Can't wait for that shit. Also, when are they ever going to go back to Rickert, dude?
Yeah, I feel like we've kind of dug our grave there. He's more red chili flake than
so
salt.
you're saying you use a lot of chili flake?
I'm nailing this, guys. No, I'm using very little chili flake because too much chili flake is that would ruin the... What do you put red chili flakes? Pizza? Yeah. It would ruin like the food item. So you just sprinkle it, a little dash.
Anyway, it's not important.
Well, Andrew,
yo,
enough about Berserk. We had some news.
Oh yeah,
some updates.
I just some follow-up items from some stuff we have already covered. Nice. So we've talked about CD Projekt Red, Cyberpunk, and Halo. How they were definitely coming out. No more delays. Halo is just fired their chief executive. The creative director just left. So Halo may not even be out next year, because that's not generally a thing that happens close to finish. That's a thing that happens very early on. And Cyberpunk, which was supposed to come out with the console launches on the 10th, delayed another 3 weeks. And the leadership just kind of continues to feast upon their own feet. Putting it straight into their mouths. One of the two CEOs of CD Projekt Red, the company developing Cyberpunk, announced on a investors call, crunch isn't that bad. It's not even that bad. And then he emailed the workers the next day. He was like, I'm sorry I said that. I did not mean to talk about crunch at all. And then suddenly I said that, and that was very bad. I'm very sorry I said that.
Yeah.
So not only can they not keep from sitting on their balls about how crunch, whether it's happening or not, or how bad it is, and it has been, and it's very bad. They're just like compounding it with bad social media. They didn't tell the social media accounts that they were going to delay the thing again. So the day before they announced the delay, somebody was like, hey, I'm going to take off work this day. So one more time, just so everybody is aware, before I do, there's no more delays, right? And then the social media page runner is like, no more delays, take that time off. Next day, delay announced. So that's the one going around. And the thing that I think is funny about this... Sorry, the cat just attacked me.
Oh, hey, kitty.
The thing that I find the funniest about this is the delay ultimately is... So it's coming out on like a dozen different things, which is only a little bit of hyperbole. I think it's closer to like 8. Yeah.
A fortnight.
So it's got to work on all of them. So it works on high-end PC. It works on next-gen stuff. The rumored problem is that it's having trouble working on the current generation. the generation it's been slated for the last 9
Oh yeah, I
years.
buy that for sure. I mean, it's so ambitious. Like, it doesn't surprise me at all.
But here's the thing: it was announced a year and a half before the PS4 was released.
Yeah.
And it's not running on the
We're at
PS4.
5. Yeah.
But please continue.
I mean, like, I understand. From what I...
You're trying to defend this. So
No, I'm not trying to defend it, but I am saying that it doesn't surprise me. Because it's fairly common where someone will announce something for a system, and they're like, oh shit, it's too ambitious, we gotta scale back. I know that. I mean, you see it all the time, right, with video game presentations where they're like, you look at the graphic fidelity, and then you actually get the product, and it's not what it's supposed to be, like the first Watch Dogs, for example.
Right.
And also, you know, you have games like Skyrim that were terrible at launch, and for months afterwards, it took like 1 million patches to get it to be runnable
no game
on the
this
360.
big is going to run perfect, but but there's a difference between the mind-boggling nature of it actually can't run on current gen systems, even though that's what it has. It's not a PS5 game.
Yeah.
It's a PS4 game, but it can't run on presumably either PS4 or Xbox One or whatever. Like, it's not running on one of those clunkers. So, you know, at some point this year, they probably just should have said it's actually a next-gen game.
Yeah.
Next-gen exclusive. And probably piss everyone off.
You got a good point. I think it is definitely... There's a difference between ambition and, as Andrew puts it, sitting on your own balls and eating your own feet. And organizational failure. So, Victor, what's up with you, man?
Yes, sir.
How are your interweb headline perusing?
Oh, well, in better news...
Dang, wait, well, Victor, positivity?
Being the
Optimism?
optimist, I know. Darkest Dungeon 2 just released a trailer. I don't remember if it was like this past week or the week prior. But it seems that they're going to be going a 3D route, which, I mean, anybody who was playing like really close attention would already know that information because Red Hook Games were hiring 3D graphic artists.
Did you apply?
Prior to this? No, I don't know dick about graphic design or programming or software or anything. So
Or anything
I would
in
just
general.
be able to be like, my only job would be to go to Red Hook Studios and like quote the narrator from that game because he says some sick shit all the time, which
I'm
is
sure
why you
you'd
should
get
play
some-
it, by the way.
Sure, you'd be a dank intern over there.
Probably.
Get the coffee.
Probably. I'd be really enthusiastic about it. But in any case, yeah, there was a recent interview about Darkest Dungeon 2, the look of the game, and surprisingly, they're also going to take it in a different direction narratively, but not necessarily in the sense that like it's going to have nothing to do with the first game. But in the first game, it's the premise of the game is that you have a squad of heroes that you have to send into a dungeon.
Is it Dark Dungeon?
No, the Darkest Dungeon. I mean, you can send them into the Darkest Dungeon, but it will like immediately drive them insane because they're not mentally nor
So
physically.
you send them in a pretty well lit dungeon first.
Yeah, pretty much, and you train them up, and they'll get stressed from their job, and you have to de-stress them, or they're likely to go
Sounds
insane.
too close
Yeah,
to real
that
life.
seems a little.
It's really good though.
Is it coming out on the new one? On how are they
Yeah.
pre-orders
Oh,
up?
I
How's
actually
it
have
coming
no
out?
idea if pre-orders are up, but I do know that early access will be on the Epic Game Store for the first year, which a lot of people are like booing. And I get it, it's cool to hate on the Epic Game Store, but they pay their developer, or rather the developers, more, so fuck it. Like,
Yeah, they have a better
down.
deal than
Exactly,
Steam.
and they're an independent studio, so... And
I mean, they're independent in the sense that like Sony is independent. Like they own Fortnite and make billions and billions and billions of all the money. But but they're independent.
Reaping the dollars from parents.
Yeah, they're
12-year-old
independent in
boys.
the same way Nintendo is independent. But also, they're following that Hades model. Hades also was on the Epic Game Store in early access for a year before heading over to Steam and whatnot.
I'm so close to buying Hades. I am so close. One more mention on a podcast, and then maybe I'll
Hades.
click buy. It is so close. You're
Hades.
almost convincing this not gamer boy to
I just
buy
told
a
you,
game.
dude, buy Hades and buy Darkest Dungeon.
Definitely in
We'll
the
see.
order that they have been suggested on the podcast.
But yeah, in any case, I'm just really excited we're getting news on Darkest Dungeon 2 because it was announced like 2 years ago, I think maybe 1 or 2 years ago, and I hadn't heard a peep since, and now they're talking about it again. And
That's
it
awesome.
will run on current gen systems, I imagine. So
In other non-gaming news,
Boo.
we're moving on to the cartoon world. I know y'all are super excited. My headline, if y'all can see, it is from Cartoon Brew. HBO Max is going to be running the cartoon show for the next few years, it looks like. They've gotten a few other projects on top of claiming Cartoon Network. They have premiered a few new originals and continuation series onto their platform. They have also all of Ghibli already. If you guys haven't seen,
Is Ghibli or Ghibli?
I think it's one of those that goes both ways. It's like a tomato thing. You know, there's probably an actual preferred one, but and I'll probably say
like
Ghibli, and I'll
Japanese
say
person
Ghibli
would
after
say.
that.
That's not okay.
I don't think they're going to be insulted by this podcast and my mispronunciation. So, anywho. So, yeah, they have a few new projects coming out. One of which is a Tiny Toons reboot. I am super, super excited for. Tiny Toons was another one of those 90s cartoons. It was essentially like the Animaniacs before Animaniacs came out. I remember watching it every single morning. And it's one of those with like the super crude humor, dumb as hell, but like a more mature themed Looney Tunes. This one's going to take place with them in college. They're going to be going to Looniversity, and Steven Spielberg is back on it. So that'll be super exciting. Andrew, did you watch Tiny Toons back in your... Oh, you guess you're probably still old back then.
Yeah, I watched it when it was live. That's what I couldn't figure out is when you watched it, because it was literally off the air before you were born. So I don't know where were you watching the Tiny Toon?
Tiny Toons was on Cartoon Network all the time. I mean, it might have been on. I don't know. It's all kind of a blur back then, but it was definitely like morning cartoons.
Yeah,
like with
no,
the
I was
Cocoa
watching
Puffs
it when
and,
it was broadcasting initially on Fox Kids, just like Animaniacs right after it. And Batman the Animated Series, man, Fox Kids was a real banger.
90s cartoons, man, they just hit different. But the second project they also have out is by acclaimed animator Genndy Tartakovsky. I butchered that as well, but he is the guy who made Powerpuff Girls, Dexter, Samurai Jack. He also has a new show, Primal, on HBO Max already. It's going to be called Unicorn Warriors Eternal. And let me just read you guys the synopsis because I think it sounds so fun. Unicorn Warriors Eternal follows a team of ancient heroes protecting the world from an ominous force. Throughout history, unicorns have symbolized the virtuous, appearing to ensure that goodness reigns. When the reawakening of our heroes comes too early, they find themselves in the bodies of teenagers. Damaged as a result, their memories of who they are and the history of the unicorn over the centuries have been lost, with some of their magical abilities weakened and fragmented. Not only do they have to protect the world against prevailing darkness, they have to do it while navigating the unexpected laughs and humor that come with teen angst and emotions. This is perfect. This is going to be amazing. If you guys see the character art from the link I have in the show notes, it looks like that gothic, dark shading, that heavy emotional feel that you get whenever you watch any of Genndy's work.
Did you know they were talking about making a live-action Powerpuff Girls for the CW?
Oh, no.
Did we talk about that?
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's a thing?
Oh no,
Gritty, realistic Powerpuff Girls.
that's a bummer. It's gonna be like a.
The girls are disillusioned 20-somethings who resent having lost their childhood
Have you
to
ever
crime
seen
fighting.
that like a parody video? I think College Humor did it. It was like the Powerpuff Girls, but if it was an HBO show, they combined the HBO show Girls with Powerpuff Girls.
So is it going to be like Lena Dunham? And like...
No, but it's still animated. It's hilarious. You're kind of just like, yeah, this is kind of what like a gritty, more realistic 20-something trying to appeal to an older audience Powerpuff Girls would be.
No, I mean, yeah, that sounds just god awful. I know, Andrew, you're more on the CW verse, or at least like a bigger supporter.
I mean, I'm on the
than
superhero bandwagon, but I acknowledge that it's just nerd soap opera. Like it's not high art in a lot of cases, but Soap operas have been around forever, so there's
It's
a
a
reason they
formula.
got staying power. I think this is gonna feel more like Riverdale than The Flash, probably, but
Ugh.
and I have no
Yeah.
opinion on Riverdale.
That's
so.
that's just it's very very soap opera esque with like a dark
Soap opera?
twist. I
They
think
do country music, line dancing.
Sure. Make fun
Yeah.
of my choice of words there. Whatever. But
I just
anyway.
really like the musical episodes
Oh.
for a soap opera. Grand old soap opera.
Well, anyway, with both those shows I mentioned and many more, it's going to be on HBO Max. Give HBO Max a shot. Honestly, I think it is like right now probably my favorite streaming service. There are definitely some interface issues that I am kind of annoyed with, but in terms of quality content, what they have on the platform, I think they are definitely giving Netflix the biggest run for their money right now. In fact, both the current pitch and the pitch that we have our next episode are both HBO Max exclusives. So that's gonna be a fun little tease in the coming minutes. But anyway, let's move on to our pitch. It's my turn, boys and girls. All right. Sorry, my notes are all jumbled up.
It's my pitch.
Whatever. Anyway, yes, this episode I am going to be pitching you guys on Over the Garden Wall these past few weeks. I have been overtly obsessing over it. I think Andrew and Victor have maybe mildly been obsessing over it. And then I hope you all have been as well, or if not, you will be after my pitch. So, a little bit of an intro. I know we kind of talked about this on the last episode, but for those who weren't there, Over the Garden Wall is a 2014 miniseries produced on Cartoon Network and now is on HBO Max. The series was pitched back in 2006, so a long time ago, actually, for our cartoon standards, by Pat McHale, who storyboarded, wrote, and was creative director for shows like Flapjack and the Adventure Time series. After a pilot was pitched and shot, it hit the mainstream, went viral. Cartoon Network took McHale's project under their wing and went for it. And this is Cartoon Network's first ever miniseries, and they haven't really done anything like this since. They've had a few other small miniseries after, but nothing to this scale. So Cartoon Network is known for giving artists the ability to pitch their concepts, but usually doesn't really go out of its way to take heavy chances like this. So it's a miracle that we have this series in general. But after the series was released back in 2014, it was critically acclaimed. It won the Emmy for Outstanding Television Program, Animated Television Program. It's been showing on Cartoon Network every single fall since, and now has an ongoing comic series that I am too broke to pay for, but eventually will one day get. In terms of a brief plot overview, the story is going to follow Greg and Wirt, who get lost in the unknown, which is a mysterious forest. They meet characters like the Woodsman, Bluebird Beatrice, and they're also getting chased by the Beast, who is scary as shit. Moving on into a little bit of a spoiler territory. Actually, we'll get to that part later. I pitched this episode. I don't think I really got into my reasoning last time too much, but I pitched this episode because I mentioned in the Halloween special that in college I really found an appreciation for like Beetlejuice and like the macabre genre-esque, or that aesthetic. Shout out Kenneth Brewer, who taught a little horror movie class for me to get to that point. But ever since then, I really gotten a greater appreciation for these kind of spookier shows or more mystical tales. And I've been watching Over the Garden Wall every single year since. I love the environments. I love the people. I love the inspirations and just how different it feels. You know, it's like, it's almost an operatic, like how the show like follows Wirt and Greg, and how at times like the spotlight will be on it and like the music surrounding of it. It's just a beautiful tale. But especially the music. I love the music. How do you guys feel about the music?
The music is great. The background music. Some of the some of like the overt songs, I was just like, please stop. But the rest of it, oh my god, dude. I like the frogs.
George Washington's.
The frogs.
Mhm.
The frogs was tight, dude.
The soundtrack. Go ahead.
But I fucking hated potatoes and molasses, dude.
No potatoes.
Potatoes and molasses was awful.
Oh, fuck you.
That was
oh
very
my
bad.
god, dude.
Oh my gosh, no.
I didn't even count that as a real song.
It was so long, Andrew. It has to be a real song. That's the problem.
I think I just zoned out.
Potatoes and molasses.
It was like 3 minutes. It was like an actual song, Andrew. It was so long, dude. I was just like, oh my god, please end this. Yeah. I fucking, dude, that kid Greg was just like every kid ever condensed into a super kid, and I hated
It was kind of because do you both have younger siblings?
I
Only
do.
Grant
child.
does. I am also an only child, so that was where kind of I was curious if this was an accurate representation of a little brother, Grant.
I think it is definitely like maybe not in reality. Like, I don't think any kid is like Greg, because Greg is like, I mean, he's like on meth, like how just energetic and happy-go-lucky he is, and just how dumb he is. But I love Greg because it is exactly how I imagine my little brother to be, or at least like when he was around that age. Just that little dumb-go-lucky kid that you really want to succeed, but you always blame him for everything, even though, like, in reality, half the stuff was your fault. You know, I have a greater appreciation. But also, you know, I've also seen the show a couple times over. So you, after the third or fourth potatoes and molasses, you start to get it stuck in your head a little bit. But
Not my guy. But the frog was just so sick.
By
dude.
the end of it, the frog was my
frog
favorite
was my
character.
guy. I mean,
Jason
I
Thunderbird
still
was my favorite.
My favorite is the Beast.
well, what I love about all of these characters, especially like the side characters that aren't, you know, like not Wirt and Greg, but like all of our side characters, like a lot of them are voice acted, especially the Beast, like they're all voice acted by like operatic or folk singers. Like most of them have that background, and so whenever they're singing, like you can really like feel the weight of the lyrics, and it like just it fits it. Every single song fits like the theme perfectly. I think in one interview, Elijah Wood was saying like if the soundtrack was to be played on any medium, it would be like a phonograph.
Old-timey Cuphead art style feeling, like they were going to the same well
Yes.
as like a Cuphead game would have been going, like that old-timey art, Steamboat Willie.
Exactly.
It
Yeah.
did have that. It did have that feel. I don't know if it was like. I feel like Cuphead, in as far as like paying homage to the older cartoon feel, does a way better job, because it reminds me more of like, I don't know if you guys ever saw Felix the Cat, but
Yes.
yeah, I did, and that shit was basically Cuphead. Like for me, those art styles are identical practically, whereas this has an old school feel, but it's still more contemporary. I did like it. It's fantastic.
In regard to like the art, I agree in that sense. Like Cuphead has a more singular approach into what its inspiration was. Over the Garden Wall has like its nails dug into like many different roots. You know, a lot of different cookie jars are being played out here. A few of the inspirations are like Disney's Alice in Wonderland. You know, there's actually Disney's Alice Wonderland, which is a completely different thing, like the Cloud City inspiration. You have a little bit of Studio Ghibli or whatever Ghibli is out there. You know, Auntie Whispers and Lorna are, in my eyes, definitely Ubaba and No Face. Peter Rabbit is a huge inspiration, you know, with like Beatrix Potter.
Auntie Whispers and that one sick chick, that was amazing. Dude, the Cloud City bit also, I hated it. I just couldn't, dude. Listening to Greg talk to those things, I was just like, oh my god, skip this part. It's too bad that it's so like important to the narrative because of the consequences of what Greg does.
Outside of like the character inspirations and that kind of art style, you know, I love the backgrounds. One of the main reasons I pitched this as well is just because like it is not just a Halloween pitch. It's not just a Halloween feel. It is a full-on fall, autumn season feel. Like it literally starts, the episode starts on Halloween, right? And then like as they're moving on at the very end, there's literally snow falling on the ground. Like it is the full encapsulation. Their whole entire journey is fall. All the backgrounds with Pat McHale in a few interviews said like the backgrounds were really inspired by like New England art as well as just like Halloween postcards.
I definitely got that feel, for sure. It reminded me of those old postcards from the 50s. You know, like what's that famous one of the
postcard of the hanging?
No, the one where they're serving that turkey.
No,
I
you
mean,
know
I can imagine like
really
a Norman Rockwell-esque.
Norman Rockwell. Thank you. Sorry, dude. I have no idea.
We appreciate
why
your
that was
English
so
degree,
hard.
Andrew.
I mean, that was art, but
Lucky bastard, dude. English degrees sound amazing to have
for trivia
for
bits?
entertainment
Yeah.
purposes.
yeah, not so much for income purposes.
That sucks. It really in a better world, Andrew.
the
your
Enlightenment
English
era,
degree
you would have
would
thrived.
Get you further.
Yeah, something would be named after me.
Bummer. I'm so bummed for you, dude. I'm very sorry. I wish English majors got their fair shake. Because then it would have taken me forever to figure out it was Norman Rockwell. I would have remembered at like the end of the podcast today,
It's been like
towards the end, it had just been like Norman Rockwell. So
Anyway, yeah, I get that. It definitely, looking at the image "Freedom from Want" by Norman Rockwell, I can definitely see, I think, what you're talking about in terms of art style and everything.
yeah, no doubt. I mean, there's just a whole plethora or other words. You know, there's so many different inspirations here, and that's what I love. It's really like a callback to just like any early classic 30s 20s cartoons. You know, you have the Tavern Keeper, who is literally Betty Boop. You have so many of those songs, like even in the Cloud City, a lot of those songs are based off of like early 30s like Disney Snow White kind of stuff. So yeah, I don't know, it's definitely like if you're looking for a nostalgia trip or you have a great appreciation for the history of animation, this is definitely a series for you.
that, and it's also, I think it's a very intelligently written show. And I remember there was one particular line in that episode where the mansions are like combined because they're both too large.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about. And Wirt like pops out of the vent and he's like, "This is really weird." And the Bluebird's like, "Why?" And he's like, "Well, because this is done in like a more French Rococo style." And I'm just like, "That's
Yeah.
hilarious."
Yeah, that was a good joke.
That is.
I think my problem with it is that I can count the number of times I went, "That's a good joke," on one hand.
Yeah.
Oh man, I wasn't counting. I know that's our job, kind of, is to count.
That is
but
listed in the job
wasn't
description.
counting.
My other favorite joke was "Have another spoonful of dirt," and he just "Thank you," and takes it.
Yeah, and then he eats
That
it.
one
No
that killed
problem.
me.
Yeah.
That was the one time I laughed really the whole time in 10 episodes.
I mean, I would.
I also liked the policeman when he was like, "Hey, stop!"
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. It's Halloween. Have a good one.
It isn't one of those laugh out loud shows, but it is one that is more like a playful, fun experience. Like it is more fairy tale than comedy.
I guess that was where my question for you guys is this funny? And is it funny because it's absurd? Like, I could tell in the first episode, whenever Greg was like, "I should leave a candy trail," and then he was like, "Candy barrage," or whatever.
Fucking Greg.
And I was like, "Oh, it's going to be one of these shows." Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I couldn't, and I was like, I've watched some Adventure Time. No, wait.
Yeah. I would definitely say it takes those kind of inspirations. You know, last episode I mentioned how Pat McHale was part of the Rat Pack or the Frat Pack, or
The Rat Pack
there's a
with Sinatra
yeah,
and Sammy
that's essentially
Davis.
like it's like the animation CalArts new age animation, because a little bit of animation history for you, at least cartoon history. Like those early 2000s those late 2000s were a dark time. Nothing was getting released. Cartoon Network was literally producing live action content. Like they literally had. It was a like they were literally just having game shows on Cartoon Network. It was just betraying the entire program block.
So is this a Cartoon Network show or an Adult
This was a
Swim
Cartoon
show?
Network. This was a Cartoon Network show.
Okay, because I remember Adult Swim doing more adult, live action things, like Children's Hospital and stuff like that.
Right. But it wasn't until, like, Flapjack and Adventure Time and shows like that. You know, we had creators like Alex Hirsch and J.G. Quintel and Pendleton Ward and Pat McHale, who created this new era, this new, or like more stylized format of cartoon, where it is like...
Yeah, essentially they reinvigorated Cartoon Network.
Right.
By going back to basics. Because, you know, maybe the Cartoon Network
kept them
should
from
have
going
cartoons.
the MTV route.
Their style of writing is dumb, but like sprinkles little bit of like little bit of sprinkles of deep in there, you know, where you can rewatch and go back and be able to appreciate what is going on. If you like watch any of those shows like Adventure Time or Regular Show or Gravity Falls, that is a definite reoccurring theme in those programs. And so, like, to answer your question, no, I wouldn't say Over the Garden Wall is a hilarious, gut-busting show by any stretch of the imagination. It is definitely stupid. And as I get older and older, I'm like, I'm laughing. I'm not laughing at the jokes directly, but rather I'm like, how do I explain this? I'm feeling the show more. I'm appreciating the process, and I'm laughing with the show, almost, if that makes sense. But also, this is why I definitely recommend like you rewatch it whenever you get the chance, just because that way, like, you can pick up on those small bits that carry you through the show. Like in the beginning, when they meet Beatrice, you can tell if you rewatch, Beatrice is literally leading them to their doom. Like, all the dialogue is pointing in that direction. The entire first little montage has points hinting at Wirt and Greg are from the real world. They aren't from this unknown Over the Garden Wall world.
Do people think they are?
What?
Do people think they are? I never once thought that they were anything but lost from the real world.
Yeah, I thought they were lost, but I didn't know if they were from like the real world into this Garden Wall world. I was just like, well, they're from their distinct village and now they're lost. I didn't know that they were like in contemporary society, you know what I mean?
It definitely was. It definitely was a twist for like those when it came out, and it was a twist for me, sure, as well. To like realize, oh, these guys are not from this world, they are from the 1970s.
Well, I mean, she didn't have a cassette player, so it puts it probably at the late 90s.
90s, yeah. That's fair. To speak on a little bit more into like the unknown, what do you guys think what does the unknown mean to you?
Oh, dude, I thought I was very clearly like, this is purgatory. They're dead, or, well, this is like a dead transitioning thing. It even has the name The Unknown, which is what happens after you die. It's the unknown. It made perfect sense to me. The way that the beast is like, you've been grinding up lost souls for years. I'm like, well, lost souls. He means that in a literal, he means that literally. So for me, I was like, boom, it's perfect. This is purgatory. It's the transition between being alive and not.
I thought about it more in terms of something like a Nathaniel Hawthorne Protestant literature, you know, the other and the unknown is always the woods, which is where they're walking through. I mean, life is purgatory from birth till death. So I didn't necessarily look at it at that point. But I just thought of it as, of course, they're going into the other is always the unknown in old American literature because it's the place where danger resides. It's not civilization. It's over the wall, beyond the pale, like all those recurring themes. It's where adventure happens. So I didn't think anything of it. And again, it's still where you find people lost and making deals with the devil, right. You know, Goodman, Brown, and all that good stuff.
By the way, did you catch in that last episode, like that quick flash you see of the beast?
Oh yeah, it's terrifying.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. I was like, I didn't
monsters.
Quite like look up the freeze frame. I watched it on YouTube because I bought it on YouTube because I couldn't get it anywhere else. And I went, No, I don't have HBO Go Max. We talked about this. Grant. Anyway, so but I kept looking through the frame and I couldn't like quite get it. But after enough times of like reviewing that scene, I'm like, I'm getting real Wendigo vibes from the Beast. I just thought that was interesting. Also, Wirt being like, maybe this is your soul, and I'm just like, oh wow, that's insightful.
Yeah.
And then the Wendigo is like, no, no, freaks out. That was a good realization. I didn't even consider that. I was like, wow, cool.
I don't necessarily know that I believe Wirt comes to that realization, but also I get it was more common in the early episodes, but there were a lot more real life. I feel like there was more of Wirt and Greg just being like, feels like we're in a story. Let's not do things that would happen if we were in a story, like beat the guy over the head and make a run for it. Definitely. And then the story elements end up happening anyway. And then I feel like that kind of died down in the middle, and all of a sudden it's back whenever it goes, okay, I'll submit. Wait, this is stupid.
Yeah. Well, I think
this is dumb. Why would I make a deal?
Yeah. I think Wirt is like at that point, like that's when like Wirt starts to buy in, and he's like, oh shit, maybe I should just stay here forever. Like that's at his lowest point where they're starting to like buy into the bull of the unknown. And it isn't until like he comes to that realization and Greg is, in danger, and he's like, okay, I need to stand up and actually like face my fears. That he realizes, the unknown's kind of bullshit. For me, the unknown is like, it is a mix of both. It is a mix of both of what you said. I think it is definitely like a purgatory state. And it also is like the forest come to life. The forest is a place, it's like a coming of age, like where you can train, where you can develop. And it's also a place where people make deals with the devil and, are entrapped and lost and go crazy and die. For me, I think the unknown is like was a test for Wirt, because in like the entirety of the show, it is him not facing his issues. His challenge, his dilemma is paralysis of analysis. Is the way I like to put it. He overanalyzes every single situation, and he gets stuck, and his things don't go his way. And whenever he just goes with his gut, or whenever any of the characters just go with like that first instinct, and they just like try to solve it, man up and face their fear, they get it right. They solve the issue. They are the only ones that could solve the mystery of the Beast. No one in the history of the unknown was able to do that. The woodsman was never able to figure that out because he was just, this is the way of the land. It wasn't until Wirt came in.
On top of the fact that the Beast was like, I convinced him that this was his daughter. It easily convinced someone else that this is his brother. So that was probably contributing to that. But I also found it pretty interesting how a lot of times the characters would say things that kind of implied like they've done this before, or some shit happened. Like, for example, there's the part where, I think this is the same episode with the French Rococo reference, where
Quincy Pentecourt.
What was her name? Bernice? Beatrice. Thank you. Yes. Where Beatrice is like, I used to be human, and Elijah Wood is like, didn't I already know that? I thought I already knew that. And then also later in that same episode, Greg throws the coins into the fountain, and you see like a bunch of coins at the bottom. And at that point, I was like, did it do a time loop? Is that what's happening? Because they also don't know why they're there. They don't remember how they got to that point.
Yeah.
It kind of gives it like a dreamlike feel in the sense that they don't necessarily track directly. You get what I'm saying? They don't have continuous memory, which is why we don't follow them continuously.
That's an interesting, yeah. No, that's definitely an interesting theory. And like one to help support that I just thought of is like in the beginning of the season, they're at the mill. And at the end, they're at the mill. So they literally went in a circle, and they didn't leave. There wasn't a path leading them outside the unknown until they defeated the Beast and they defeated their own internal issues.
It's amazing. They really made it scary when they wanted to. Not like scary, right? But there were times where in the first episode with that wolf, I was like, that's kind of disturbing. I like it. Mm-hmm. And then obviously the ultimate design of the Beast. Excellent work. I really wish that they leaned in more to the whole fairy tale aspect and less of the Greg part of the show, dude. Dude, Greg just ruined this for me. He didn't
I think
ruin
that's
it
all
for
your
me,
gripes are just revolved around.
but I would have preferred more of the Woodsman and the Beast than Greg.
Yeah. I think you just also have a disdain for little children. But
Just Greg-like children.
Yeah, the Woodsman and the Beast were the most interesting story in the whole thing. Like, in my opinion, I didn't care for most of this. I thought it was like great bones, and then I didn't care for the pumpkin it was dressed up in.
Mm-hmm.
That was a
Okay.
that was a reference to
Yeah,
the show.
yeah,
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
Like the base foundation, two kids lost in the woods. That could be purgatory. Could be a test. One of the things that bothers me about tests of character for one person is when another person's lives are on the line.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm like, what's that? Why is this person getting tested now?
Yeah.
I was like, Greg didn't do nothing.
Well, he did steal the rock.
He stole a rock, therefore he must die.
Yeah. So I thought it was a great voice cast. John Cleese, Tim Curry, B.B.
Curry?
Newworth, Christopher Lloyd.
Really?
Tim Curry's
he
Auntie
was-
Whispers.
Wow.
Auntie Whispers.
Yeah, I didn't recognize it either. I just happened to look and go like, what?
Yeah.
If the whole aesthetic felt like it should have been had Tom Waits as the narrator, which is a positive point for me. But like the bones of it, the kids lost in the woods going on the adventures, and then the ultimate, like the side plot of what's going on with the huntsman and the beast and the daughter in the flame, that was all much more interesting than anything that happened
Except
to
for the
Greg and
frog
Wirt.
shit.
I think
was
that's
dope.
Except for the frog. The frog was very good.
Yeah, I think it is. It definitely is. Like that is most fairy tales, right? Like a good fairy tale isn't always about the destination. It's about the journey, right? It is about what they see along the way. And I agree. I think like that the elements around the show, every single episode, the world of the unknown was by far the best part of the series. You know, you have Pottstown or Pottsfield. You have like the fairy with the frogs, Quincy Endicott, who, by the way, you see his gravestone before they jump over the garden wall. You see Quincy Endicott's gravestone. Like, there's a few other hints that like points it to being purgatory.
The skeleton pumpkin people literally tell Wirt when he first gets there, like, you don't seem
We'll see you
ready for this right now. Why are you here?
Yeah. Oh, by the way, do you know who plays Enoch? Andrew, you mentioned the voice cast.
I don't remember who Enoch is.
Enoch is the large pumpkin head guy. He was actually also the Black Cat from episode 2. That is Chris Isaac from that
No
Wicked
idea what
Game
you're talking about.
song. What? Play Wicked Game by man. I wish we had a producer. We could play this like overhead.
Hey Alexa, producer Alexa, play.
Damn, Grant.
I know
Honestly,
Wicked
Grant,
Game.
I don't know who that is either.
And I wanna fall in love.
I honestly have no idea who that is either. I thought you were going to say some, like, really crazy dope shit. Like, it was Dave Chappelle or something. I would have been like, what the hell?
Okay, this is a well-known song. I'm not gonna be shamed for it. You guys should listen to
Already
Shame.
forgotten it.
eventually.
Shame.
Whatever.
Shame. I don't know. As far as my, like, concluding thoughts about this whole series, though,
Yeah.
I would probably rewatch it the way that people rewatch those really old Christmas cartoons. You know what I'm talking about? Like the stop motion animation Rudolph or Frosty.
Yeah.
I'd probably rewatch this in the vein of that.
Hank and Bass.
You know? Because it has a tumbril feel to it, man. I'm just like, yo, this is about fall transitioning to winter. Which, by the way, you got a very
Literally.
flavorful pick. The weather just so happened to support your pitch.
It's starting to get a little chilly outside.
So
Yeah.
I'd probably rewatch it in that vein. Honestly, Greg just makes this so hard to want to rewatch.
You get to pick and choose episodes.
Yeah,
next
I'm
time.
gonna be like, what are the least Greg intensive episodes?
Potatoes and
Fuck you.
molasses.
Fuck you. God damn. Oh my god, I just wanted to really like this show.
No, it was great. You'll appreciate once you have a child. And
I'm gonna
if you ever
raise
have a
him
child-
specifically, not or her, to specifically be un-Greg like. I will raise them laconically, like the way the Spartans did.
All right. Damn. Do you guys have any questions about the show, or is there anything that confused you, or any last remaining thoughts, Andrew?
I wouldn't watch the show again. I think it's a very neat. I like a lot of the ideas in it, but I don't need to engage with it again. I'd like to see the ideas. I'd like to see the ideas again somewhere in a package that I find more palatable. But for an 110-minute, like, it's definitely the discussion about it being purgatory and all that stuff adds nice elements to it. That again makes it deeper than what it initially surface level seems like it might be, based on Greg in that first episode. But yeah, like, I don't need to do anything with it again, which is fine. I'm 1 out of 3, so 2/3 of the pitch pot agree. Watch Over the Garden Wall again.
No, I totally agree with Victor in the sense, like, I wouldn't watch this in July, you know? This is a fall. The reason I pitched it at this point in time, and I mentioned this, I watch this once a year because this reminds me of the fall season. This is a perfect illustration of this time of the year, and regardless of how lame this time of the year actually ends up being in my life, you know, this is the image I have in my head of what I want it to be, if that makes sense. I love the aesthetics. I love the environments, the backgrounds. I like Greg. Fuck you, fight me.
I will fight you.
And yeah, no, I wouldn't say it's for everyone, right? But if you have that deep appreciation for oldies cartoons, animation, and you want something to satisfy the fall season, and you're not getting enough out of your apple spice donuts and pumpkin spice Starbucks or whatever spiced thing, cinnamon spice lattes, spice.
Just keep saying the word spice.
Spice.
That's fall. And
Then
you
watch,
could say
then watch
Over the Garden Wall is like the Baby Yoda spice.
Yes. That way to circle it all back. All right, guys. Well, there you have it. There is my pitch for Over the Garden Wall. Let me know what you think. If you think that I'm just dead wrong, if you think that Andrew's a hater, if Victor's an ass for not appreciating the true hero of the story, Greg and Jason Thunderberger,
oh my God,
let me know.
Greg.
Let us know. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and move on to the next pitch in 2 weeks. Andrew, what will you be pitching us on?
I will be, just as a half step, I did not say I hated it. I just said I don't need to watch it again. But the next pitch I'm throwing out, we should probably figure out something for Victor, because it's also can be watched on many fine HBO products, or perfectly no adjective HBO products until they give us a sponsorship.
Please.
I'll
take a sponsorship from
Cosmic Horror Show.
Anyone. You know?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, there's
sure.
like a bagel shop down the street. I'll take a sponsorship from them.
So Cosmic Horror Show, but generally focused on the horror on the ground is the far more reaching thing. So commentary set on the past, commentary about the present set in the past, racial injustice that for once is not set in the South, which is rare. So for the last couple of months, Lovecraft Country has creeped me out, entertained me, made me think about storytelling and racial tensions, and what could be better in the next 2 weeks than a story focusing on something like that.
Yeah.
Go
vote.
No, wait.
Vote.
You probably have already voted by the time this comes out, so we'll see you in the apocalypse.
This episode will probably be released post-election. So us saying go vote probably means nothing at this point, but go vote in your primaries in 2 years. Always vote. Voting is important. Civic duty and stuff like that. But yes, Lovecraft Country. I'm excited for it. I watched Lovecraft. I'm excited to give it another run through, more of a day-to-day model as opposed. I was watching it week to week, so I'm excited to kind of see it in a different lens where I'm rewatching it and kind of more focusing on the thematical elements and less on like the horror on.
Sure.
On
We're still actually 2 episodes from finishing, but I've mostly done week to week. We just kind of got derailed and it's been hard to pick back up. But I read the original. I read the book when it came out forever ago, 4 or 5 years ago. So it has been on my radar for a long time. So
awesome.
We'll see how we do. I might read the book again. I don't know. It was a fairly short read, but the book is much less satisfying than the show for me.
All right. Cool. Well, like you said, that's on HBO Max, right?
Max, and however you are viewing your fine HBO products, or your perfectly adequate HBO products.
Moderately
Give us a sponsorship,
decent,
you cowards.
okay, HBO things. Yes. All right. Well, there we have it. In 2-ish weeks, we will be pitching you, or Andrew will be pitching you on Lovecraft Country. Thank you guys for listening to this wonderful, amazing, fun, super spectacular episode. A little bit of a call to action here. Make sure to follow this podcast. Hello, Andrew. You have a note. Okay. He was doing like a hand motion. I thought he was raising his hand. Anywho, follow the podcast. Spread the word. It would mean a lot to us if you guys just let your friends know. Send the link if, you enjoy what we do or even hate what we do, but you think someone else would enjoy what we do. Let them know about it. Make sure to follow us on social media. All those links are going to be in the description. Make sure to let us know. Spam us with all your questions, thoughts, criticisms, hate mail, love mail. DM us for a Discord link. We have that set up now. And most importantly, make sure to leave a review. Tell a friend and leave a review. Make sure their friends review. That's what's going to help us get into the stratosphere, the Apple Podcast charts ranking, the algorithms of podcasting. So make sure to leave a review and let us know how we can do better for you. Yeah, finally, make sure to interact with us by wasting your next couple of weeks obsessing over Lovecraft Country. The way to view it will be also in the description below. Love you guys. Cue Space Rock. Bow, 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 bow.